That's true.
True story. Yes, she often, she gets a lot done when she's asleep. She'll like, I think you've heard the story. I caught her outside one night.
What if the Brad Pitt you think you know, the golden boy of Hollywood, has a secret list? A list of actors he allegedly despises so much, he's vowed to never share the screen with them again. This explosive claim took over the internet, suggesting a much darker side to the A-list icon. It all started with a comment from his Bullet Train co-star, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who joked that Pitt keeps a good list and a shit list of actors he will and won't work with. The internet immediately went into a frenzy, trying to figure out who could possibly be on this secret list. But let's be very clear, Brad Pitt has never publicly confirmed such a list exists or named a single person on it. This is an investigation into the rumors, the on-set battles, and the bitter rivalries that have led insiders to believe they've cracked the code. We're looking at the evidence to uncover the truth behind the whispers. Here are the 6 actors most often rumored to be on Brad Pitt's supposed list. Our investigation begins with what might be the most legendary and longest-running feud in modern Hollywood, Brad Pitt versus Tom Cruise. This wasn't just a clash of actors, it was a battle of personalities so different that it created a tension you could cut with a knife. To understand this rivalry, we have to go back to 1994, to the dark and gothic set of Interview with the Vampire. At the time, Tom Cruise was already a global superstar, known for his intense and meticulously professional approach. Brad Pitt was the fast-rising, laid-back heartthrob, the picture of effortless cool. When they were cast as the vampires Lestat and Lewis, the world expected magic. What they got was real-life misery. Pitt has been incredibly open about his experience on that film, once describing the 6 months of shooting in London's gloomy Pinewood studios as miserable. He told Entertainment Weekly, 6 months in the F.I.N.G. dark, contact lenses, makeup, I'm playing the bitch role. He even admitted to calling producer David Geffen to ask how much it would cost to quit. The answer? A cool $40 million. So, Pitt stayed, but it wasn't just the dreary conditions. It was the fundamental gap between him and Cruise. In a now famous interview, Pitt laid it all out. He bugged me, Pitt said of Cruise. There came a point during filming when I started really resenting him. He's North Pole, I'm South. He's always coming at you with a handshake, whereas I may bump into you. That one quote says it all, Cruise, the ever-eager professional, and Pitt, the more reserved artist. Pitt felt there was an underlying competition that got in the way of any real conversation. Their director, Neil Jordan, even noted the difference in their acting styles, describing Cruise as precise while Pitt was more instinctual. For years, the feud simmered. They have never worked together again, a telling fact for 2 of the biggest stars of their generation. The tension flared up again in 2009 when Pitt reportedly called Cruise's World War II film Valkyrie a ridiculous movie. A spokesperson quickly walked the comment back, but it added more fuel to the fire. So where do they stand today? Sources suggest things have cooled off, even if they aren't best friends. As they've become elder statesmen in Hollywood, a mutual respect seems to have emerged. While they may have buried the hatchet, the decades of distance make it clear why Tom Cruise is always at the top of any rumored no-go list. It wasn't hate, perhaps, but an impossible friction between 2 opposite forces. If the clash with Tom Cruise was about conflicting personalities, the rumored feud with Harrison Ford was a battle of wills on the set of the 1997 thriller, The Devil's Own. The on-set drama became so infamous, it nearly overshadowed the film itself. Here was the setup: Harrison Ford, the king of the box office, playing an honest NYPD cop. Brad Pitt, the hottest young actor in the world, playing a charismatic IRA operative. On paper, it was a dream team. In reality, it was a nightmare of script disputes. The problem started before they even began filming. According to Ford, the 2 stars couldn't even agree on a director. They finally settled on Alan J. Pakula, but the two leads had completely different visions for the movie. In a surprisingly honest interview with Esquire years later, Harrison Ford took his share of the blame. "Brad had this complicated character, and I wanted a complication on my side so that it wasn't just a good and evil battle," Ford explained. He pushed for his character to have a darker backstory, leading to last-minute rewrites and a chaotic set. "I worked with a writer, but then all of a sudden we're shooting and we didn't have a script that Brad and I agreed on," Ford admitted. "Each of us had different ideas about it." Brad Pitt was much less diplomatic at the time, calling the film a disaster and the most irresponsible bit of filmmaking I've ever seen. He felt the nuanced script he'd developed was thrown out for a formulaic thriller. The tension was obvious. Ford acknowledged that Pitt likely felt he was imposing his point of view. It was a classic Hollywood power play. Ford was the established star used to getting his way, and Pitt was the rising force fighting to protect his vision. While Ford now speaks of Pitt with admiration, calling him a wonderful actor, the bitterness of that experience has lingered. For an actor who values a strong script, the chaotic experience on The Devil's Own was a hard lesson. It stands as a perfect example of a working relationship so toxic, it's easy to see why Pitt would never want to repeat it. Method acting. For some, it's a sign of intense dedication. For others, it's an excuse for chaotic behavior. When Brad Pitt teamed up with the notoriously intense Shia LaBeouf for the 2014 World War II film, Fury, he came face to face with a level of commitment that allegedly crossed a line, forcing Pitt to step in not just as a peacekeeper. The film was meant to be a grueling experience. Director David Ayer pushed his cast to their limits to create an authentic sense of brotherhood. But Shia LaBeouf took things to another level. It's been reported he had a dentist pull out one of his real teeth and repeatedly cut his own face to make his character's wounds look authentic. While Pitt publicly praised LaBeouf's dedication, saying, "Oh, I love this boy. He's one of the best actors I've ever seen," sources from the set tell a more complicated story. The most well-known incident involved fellow actor Scott Eastwood. Eastwood's character was scripted to chew tobacco and spit it onto the tank they all considered their home. LaBeouf, deep in character and apparently unaware this was in the script, took it as a sign of real disrespect. Eastwood said the moment turned volatile, and that Brad Pitt ultimately got in the middle of it. Pitt confirmed the story, explaining that he initially had the same gut reaction. "Shia saw it and felt he's disrespecting our home," Pitt said. "So Shia had the same reaction I did, and started having some words. It was only later that they checked the script and realized Eastwood was just playing his part. So we were the knobs in the end," Pitt admitted with a laugh. But while that incident was resolved, it highlighted a deeper tension. Eastwood later commented, "I never think your process as an actor should ever hinder how people are treated on set." This gets to the heart of why LaBeouf might be on Pitt's supposed list. As the veteran leader on set, Pitt was responsible for morale. While he might have admired LaBeouf's talent, constantly managing his co-stars' extreme methods is draining. It's one thing to be committed, it's another to create a volatile work environment. Some Hollywood feuds are born from clashing egos. Others are manufactured by the media spotlight, creating a crisis so intense it leaves scars, regardless of the truth. This seems to be the case with French actress Marion Cotillard, whose only crime was starring opposite Brad Pitt in the 2016 film Allied at the worst possible moment. Allied was a romantic World War II spy thriller where Pitt and Cotillard played assassins who fall in love. Their on-screen chemistry was supposed to be the main selling point. But off-screen, a storm was brewing. Just as the film's promotional tour started, news broke that Angelina Jolie had filed for divorce from Brad Pitt. Almost immediately, the tabloids went into overdrive. Rumors ran wild, creating a narrative that Pitt had an affair with his beautiful French co-star. The story was explosive, and it unfairly dragged Cotillard into one of the most high-profile divorces in history. The pressure became so intense that Cotillard, who was pregnant with her second child with her longtime partner, Guillaume Canet, was forced to issue a public statement on Instagram. "This is going to be my first and only reaction to the whirlwind news," she wrote. She confirmed her relationship with Kenneth and wished both Brad and Angelina peace in this very tumultuous moment. In later interviews, Cotillard handled the situation with incredible grace. She told the Today Show, "I never take anything personally when it doesn't concern me. So I didn't take it personally because I had nothing to do with those rumors. So why would this land her on a rumored list? It's not about personal animosity from Pitt. The issue is likely the toxic baggage tied to that time." The Allied press tour was a nightmare. Instead of discussing the film, they were navigating a minefield of personal questions and ugly accusations. For Pitt, who was in the middle of a painful family crisis, working with Cotillard would forever be a reminder of that chaotic period. It's a professional relationship that became collateral damage in a personal war. Avoiding working with her again wouldn't be a personal slight, but an act of self-preservation. This next one might seem shocking. After all, Brad Pitt and George Clooney are Hollywood's ultimate bromance, the charming, prank-pulling duo from the Oceans franchise. But for years, whispers of a secret rivalry have persisted. So, is George Clooney really on Brad Pitt's hate list? The short answer is no. But the story of their so-called feud is a perfect example of how Hollywood myths get started. The reality of their relationship is one of deep, enduring friendship. They've consistently supported each other, and their chemistry in films like Ocean's 11 and Burn After Reading is built on genuine affection. They just reunited for the 2024 film Wolves, and their press tour was a masterclass in friendly banter. Clooney recently joked to People magazine about working with Pitt again, saying, "There's nothing good about it. It's all a disaster," before adding, "It's fun to work with people you know really well." A source confirmed their bond, stating, "Brad and George are forever friends. They like and respect each other no matter how many years in between gigs together." While rumors of another Ocean's movie continue to swirl, their recent work together definitively debunks any notion of a real feud. So, why include him? Because it's crucial to see the difference between a real conflict and a media narrative. The inclusion of George Clooney on tabloid hate lists is a fabrication, a stark contrast to the very real, documented tensions with others. We can officially declare this case closed. George Clooney is firmly on the good list. We've arrived at number 1. And this name is perhaps the most obvious, yet the most complex and tragic of them all. This isn't a story about on-set friction. This is a story of a Hollywood dynasty and a collapse so brutal and public that the fallout continues to this day. The number 1 person on any speculative list of who Brad Pitt would never work with again is, without a doubt, his ex-wife, Angelina Jolie. Their relationship began on the set of 2005's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and for over a decade, Brangelina was a global power couple. Then, in September 2016, it all came crashing down. Jolie filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. What followed wasn't just a divorce, it was a scorched earth battle played out in court filings and tabloid headlines. The fight over custody of their 6 children and the division of their massive fortune, including their French winery, Chateau Miraval, has been nothing short of vicious. The winery dispute reveals the depth of the animosity. Pitt sued Jolie in 2022 after she sold her stake in it, a move he claimed was a deliberate attempt to inflict harm on him. Jolie countersued, claiming that talks to sell her share to Pitt broke down after he demanded she sign an extensive NDA that would have prohibited her from speaking about Pitt's alleged physical and emotional abuse of her and their children. After an 8-year battle, the two finally settled their divorce in late 2024, but the war over the winery rages on. The idea of them ever sharing a movie set again is not just improbable, it's inconceivable. The trust has been destroyed, replaced by a bitter legal rivalry. More than any on-set tiff, this relationship represents a profound and painful chapter in Pitt's life. The bond that once made them Hollywood's greatest power couple has been irrevocably broken. the world of Hollywood is filled with massive egos and intense pressure. While the idea of a physical shit list might just be speculation from a single comment, the history of these relationships shows the very real fault lines in Brad Pitt's career. We've seen the undeniable friction with Tom Cruise and the professional warfare with Harrison Ford. We've looked at the chaotic intensity of Shia LaBeouf and the way Marion Cotillard was unfairly dragged into a media firestorm. We've also debunked the rumors surrounding George Clooney, proving some Hollywood friendships are as real as they seem, but ultimately, all roads lead back to the one conflict that overshadows all others, the bitter legal and emotional war with Angelina Jolie. In the end, this list is less about pure hate and more a map of painful experiences and professional battles. It's a reflection of an actor who, at 61, has learned to be highly protective of his creative space and personal peace. And it leaves you with a final question: in the cutthroat world of Hollywood, is having a list like this not an act of malice, but a necessary tool for survival?